Okay, in this video what we have is a cylinder that gives us some information on it. So let's take a look at it right quick. The first thing that we need to notice is on this left hand side it tells us that the height of the cylinder, which the height is always on a 3D figure, will always be the distance in between the two bases. So we have one base right here. This is our first base. We'll shade it in. And this is our next base. We'll shade it in. Now, once we're looking at this, we know that our height is 10. That's the distance between the two bases. And then it also gives us our radius. In some instances, it may give us the entire diameter. But in this one, notice that it stops in the center, so that is our radius. So what we need to do in order to determine what the surface area of this particular shape is, we need to use our formula. The formula we have is actually going to be S is equal to P, which is the perimeter, times H, which is the height, plus 2 times big B, which is the area of the base. So what I like to do is separate those components. So we'll write a P right here and put equals. We'll write a H right here and put equals. And then write a big B and put equal. So the first thing we need to do is determine what is our formula for these particular components. So when we're talking about the perimeter, we're always going to be referring to the base. So if you want me to draw a picture, I'll just draw another picture down here. Not that you don't already have one. But when we're looking at this picture, this is our base right here. This bottom portion that is contacting the surface is the base. And the shape of our base is a circle, right? So we need to know what is since we're looking for the perimeter of a circle, what do we call that? And the perimeter of a circle is called the circumference, and there is a formula for that. The circumference is actually equal to 2 pi r, which means 2 times pi times the radius. What we said our radius is from the center point of the circle over to its circumference, and it gives us a value of 9. So we can go ahead and plug that in, and we can say 2 pi. And instead of writing r this time, like here we wrote r, instead of writing r this time, right here we're just going to put that number in there. So the number 9, and that's going to be equal to, and we can do the math on this. I'm going to say, I'm not going to change pi yet. I would say that you should leave pi for your final step, and then you can go ahead and make your calculation. So your calculator is not estimating things. So what we're going to do is do 2 times 9. That gives us 18. So the perimeter of our circle, or its circumference, is equal to 18 pi. I'm going to underline that because that's an important number. We're going to use that and plug it back into our formula up here in just a moment. Now, the next thing we want to do is look at the height. Well, the height is the distance between the top of our figure and the bottom. Or we could say it's the distance between the two bases of our figure. Looking at that, it tells us what that is, and it's 10. So H is height, and I'm just going to write my 10 right there because it's 10 yards. I can also over here write this was yards because it was yards as well. Now we just need big B. So remember, we're looking at our base. B, it means the area of the base, and it doesn't matter what shape we're working on, it will always be the area of the base. But the formula changes dependent upon the shape. Now this particular shape, as we already noticed, is a circle. Our base right here is a circle, the one that we shaded in. So the area of a circle is simply pi r squared. And that formula will be given on your STAR handout that has all your formulas for your STAR test. So if we go ahead and plug in our numbers, we can write pi times r. And now remember, for r, I'm going to plug in my number. And we have that, it's 9. So pi times 9 squared. And that's going to give me the area of my base. So 9 squared is 9 times 9, which is 81. So therefore we have 81. So that gives us 81 pi yards squared. Now notice we have these three numbers now. We have our perimeter, which is P in our formula, our height, which is 10 in our formula, and our big B, which is 81 pi. So that's all we need to get the total surface area. And that's what we're going to calculate first, is the total surface area. So instead of just saying S, because this is the total surface area, I'm actually going to put TSA. That's total surface area. That means that we're including our two bases and our lateral surface area, which is this part in the center that goes around our shape. So let's go ahead and write our formula again. We have PH plus 2B. We're just going to plug in our numbers now. So for our P, we're going to plug in our P, which was 18 pi. We're putting it in parentheses because anytime we plug in a number for a letter, we're plugging it in for the letter P. We make sure we put it in parentheses. Our next one is going to be the H, which is 10, right? Because it says P times H. So I'm going to draw an arrow for my H. I'm going to put 10. And then plus 2. Now remember, 2 was the coefficient in front of this B, which just means 2 times whatever the big B is. And big B stands for area of the base. So that's 2. And then times our big B. And remember, our big B is 81 pi yard squared. So we're going to put 81 pi. So now, if I want to get my total surface area, I've already got all my numbers plugged in. I just need to put them in my calculator and hit enter. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to bring my calculator around. So here's my calculator. Yours is going to be the same. So if you notice, I already did that right here. And I'll type it in again just so you can follow along with me. So we're going to put in our 18 pi. So 18. Let's put a parentheses first. There it goes. 18 pi times 10 plus 2 parentheses, because we're plugging in our number, 81 pi, and now we're going to go ahead and let it approximate pi's value in these two parts, and we'll get a value. We'll hit enter, and it's 1074.42. So I'm going to move my calculator over. We're going to write that number in. So I have 1074.42. Now what I want you to do is approximate that down to just a single digit in a tens place. So we're going to put the approximation sign. It's approximately 1074 point. Now I'm going to underline this one and circle this one. So I want you to approximate to this tens place. So we look at this number. If this number is 5 or greater, then we round up. If it's 4 or less, we round down. So since that is a 2, we round down, and that means we just keep the 4. And then we'll put yards squared. Now that's very important. Remember to put yards squared, or whatever that is. If it's centimeters, put centimeters. If it's kilometers, put kilometers. But you put it to squared units because area is always measured in square units. And that is our total surface area. We can box it. So if it asks for the total surface area, that would be our answer. Now, say for instance that it asked for the lateral surface area. In other words, it just wanted, I'm going to shade it in, this up and down area right here around. In other words, it did not want the bases. Well, if it only wanted the lateral surface area, then it does not want these bases. So we take off the 2b. Or you could look at it as you're just basically going to focus on the pH. The pH will always give you the lateral surface area. So I'm going to write that on the side over here. I'm going to put LSA, and this one right here was TSA because that was total surface area. LSA is equal to pH, which was approximately, and let's go ahead and look that in there. Let's put it back in. So if we're looking just at the pH, we're looking at just the 18 pi, which was P, times our height, right, which was 10. We'll plug in that 10, hit enter, and look what it gave us, 565.487. So let's go ahead and do some rounding here, right? The 4, we just want that number. We want to know if it's going to change or stay the same. So if we look at the 8, 8 is greater than 4, right? And remember, if it's going to be 5 or higher, We're going to round up, so we need to turn that 4 to a 5. So we're going to say it's 565.5. So pH is 565.5 yards squared. So remember, if it asks you for lateral surface area, you're just going to give them the pH, which is 565.5 yards squared. If they ask for the total surface area, you would give them the entire formula, which is the pH plus 2b, which gives us 1074.4 yards squared.